Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're getting ready to absolutely crush your next Salesforce developer technical interview, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to break down all the key concepts, the patterns, and, the common pitfalls that interviewers just love to ask about. All right, let's jump right in. So, right off the bat, I want to ask a big question. What really separates a good developer from a truly great one? Well, it's not just about being able to churn out code. It's about deeply understanding the why behind the code you're writing and thinking ahead about the consequences. That's what we're going to unpack today. Okay, first things first. We have to nail down the Apex fundamentals. I mean, you can't build a skyscraper on a shaky foundation, right? Interviewers are going to test your foundation immediately. These are the absolute non-negotiables. Okay, so this right here might look super simple, but it is so critical. On the left, when you just declare a list, it doesn't actually exist yet. It's null. It's literally nothing. You can't do anything with it. But on the right, when you initialize it with that new keyword, you're creating an empty list, an empty box, ready for you to put stuff in. This tiny difference is the root cause of one of the most common errors you'll ever see, the null pointer exception. And look, this isn't just for lists. It's the same story for everything. A set, a map, if you don't initialize it, it's null. And if you try to use it to .add or .put something, your code is going to crash. Hard. And get this, because this is one that trips up a ton of people. Even an integer starts as null, not 0. So if you try to do math with it before giving it a value, boom, another error. So if there's one thing you burn into your brain from this, let it be this mantra. Always initialize your collections before you use them. Saying this in an interview just like that shows the interviewer that you get it. You understand how to write safe, defensive code. All right, let's do a few rapid-fire examples that interviewers just love to ask. First up, sets. They hate duplicates. They'll just toss them out for you automatically. Super useful. Second, you create a new account in memory. Does it have an ID? Nope, not until you actually insert it into the database. Until then, its ID is null. And third, can you add a null value into a list? Yep, you absolutely can. Knowing these little quirks is what proves you've actually spent time writing Apex. Okay, so we've got the basics down. Now let's connect the dots and see how this stuff actually works in the real world. We're going to look at how Apex is the engine behind powerful automation and triggers, and how it powers modern user interfaces with Lightning Web Components, or LWC. Now this is what you want to see. This is a beautiful trigger. It's clean, it's simple, and there's almost zero logic in it. This is the thin trigger pattern, and it is the gold standard. A trigger should be like a doorman. Its only job is to see who's coming and go, okay, you go to the handler class. That's it. This makes your whole framework way easier to manage and test. And here's the other half of the puzzle, the brains of the operation. This is the handler class, where all the real work happens, all the complex business logic. Separating your logic from the trigger is a huge sign of a mature developer. Why? Because it makes your code reusable, it makes it 1,000 times easier to unit test, and it lets you easily bypass the trigger when you need to. All right, let's switch gears to the front end for a sec. LWC. In an interview, they are almost guaranteed to ask you how components talk to each other. So think of it like this. To send data down from a parent to a child, you use an @API property. To have the child send information up to the parent, it sends out a custom event. And if the parent needs to tell the child to do something right now, it uses query selector to grab it and call a method directly. Down, up, and direct command. You nail those three, you're golden. Okay, this next part is huge. This is where you really start to separate the pros from the rookies. We're talking about not just writing code that works, but writing code that doesn't fall apart under pressure. It's all about thinking ahead, respecting the platform's limits, and building something that's safe, efficient, and can actually scale. 100. Just let that number sink in. This number is burned into the mind of every seasoned Salesforce developer. It is the hard limit on how many SOQL queries you can run in one go. This isn't a friendly suggestion from Salesforce, it's a rule. You break it, your code breaks. End of story. And it's the number one reason why you can never, ever put a SOQL query inside a loop. So let's talk about the top 3 errors that every developer runs into. We already hammered on the null pointer exception, just initialize your variables. The other two, too many SOQL queries and too many DML statements, are all about one word, bulkification. You see a query or a DML statement like an insert or an update inside a loop, you're going to have a bad time. The fix is always the same. Get it out of the loop. Collect all your data in a list or a map first, then do one single operation at the end.
All right, here's a trickier one interviewers love because it shows you've been in the trenches. The mixed DML exception. Basically, Salesforce has a rule. You cannot mess with certain setup objects, like a user, and regular data objects, like an account, in the exact same transaction. It just won't let you to keep the data safe.
So, what do? The answer they're looking for is simple. You split it up into two separate transactions. And the easiest way to do that is with an @future method. You're basically telling Salesforce, hey, handle this first part now, and then handle this other part in a few seconds, in its own little bubble. It's the perfect tool for the job. Look, being a great coder is one thing, but to really show that you're a senior level pro, you need to think bigger than just the code editor. This last part is all about that bigger picture. Version control, deployments, and the agile process. This is what shows you're not just a coder, you're a software engineer. The classic 15 versus 18-digit ID question. This is such a great, simple way to show you know your stuff. The 15-digit ID you see in the URL is case-sensitive, which is a total nightmare for tools like Excel. The 18-digit ID is case-insensitive, which makes it completely safe for integrations or any other system. Bottom line, if you're taking an ID outside of Salesforce, always use the 18-digit version, period. You're never just coding alone in a dark room, right? You're part of a team. So being able to talk about agile concepts like sprints, user stories, and daily stand-ups is crucial. It shows that you understand the process, that you know how to collaborate, and that you know how modern software actually gets built. It shows you'll be a great team player. And last but not least, how does your brilliant code actually get to the users? You need to understand the deployment pipeline, or CI/CD. It all starts when you commit your code to a feature branch in Git. From there, an automated tool takes over. It promotes your changes, runs a bunch of tests and checks, and finally merges and deploys it. Knowing this process is a must in today's world. So, let's bring it all home. At the end of the day, acing a technical interview isn't about memorizing a bunch of syntax. It's about being able to confidently explain the why behind your decisions. Why do you initialize a collection? Why do you use a trigger handler? Why do you use a future method? When you can answer those questions, you're not just showing what you know, you're proving your expertise. And that's how you get the job. Good luck.